Right, everybody. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes or so. Just waiting for people to log on. This is going to be a very, very interesting talk. So if you're seeing this, stick around. Questions are more than welcome. So by all means, just waiting another minute or so. Alrighty then. Okay, I think we can get started. All right, so technical recruiting is broken. And what I mean by that, and yeah, so what I mean by that is that the entire process for both candidates, or for all parties, not both, for candidates, for technologists and hiring managers, for HR, for recruiters, is full of friction. And it's honestly a bloody shame. Now, I coach a tremendous amount of developers and CTOs. I work with engineering teams all over the world. This is a universal problem that we really, really need to fix. Now, as part of this conversation, I want to make sure that you can ask any questions you want. I'll see the comments. I won't be able to reply to the comments, but as I see the comments, I may pause and go ahead and respond it in live. So please ask questions, ask my perspective. I will give you all the information that I've got. Now, for any recruiter that is actually listening to this, for any technical recruiter that is listening to this, steal my process, because at the end of this call, I'm going to give you my process, Red Corner's process. Please steal it, take it as yours. I give you full permission to do so, because this problem needs to be fixed and you will be part of the solution. Whether you like it or not, you will have to be part of the solution, or you will be left behind as we change the game. Now, the final note before we start, I'm giving you this, I'm having this conversation with the internet, right? Um, as an ex-candidate, I used to be a candidate. I used to submit my resume. I used to, you know, get anxious at interviews. And even back then, even in the early 2000s, right? Even in the early 2000s, this was the same problem. Job descriptions didn't make any sense, but anyhow. So it was the same problem. Candidates hated the recruiting process, and the recruiters and HR and hiring managers also hate the recruiting process, especially for technical. Now, the last thing that I'm going to add here, this is a problem specific to technical recruiting. If you're hiring marketing, if you're hiring accountants, lawyers, if you're hiring ops, all of these other individuals, it's fine. Yes, there are complicated jobs, but they don't evolve as quickly as technology does. There aren't as many options as technology provides, as software development provides. And so we have to change how we approach hiring for technical recruiters. So let's get started. The root cause here is trust. I feel like I'm in couples therapy, but it's true. I've never been in couples therapy. But the root cause here is trust. Trust between the candidate and the employer. Trust between the candidate and the job description. Trust between the technical folks that are hiring, the hiring managers, your CTOs and your VPs and your directors and your EMs, with HR, and trust between them and the technical recruiters as well. Yes, that is correct. I, as a CTO, never trusted technical recruiters to actually do the job right, even though I was paying them 20 and 30% of the fee, right? Of the first year salary. What does that tell you? You are hired to do a job and you are not trusted at the same time. That's kind of a big problem, right? That's a problem ripe for disruption. That's why you're seeing all of these AI recruiting software coming out to append the technical recruiter, to remove the technical recruiter from the process, to remove HR from the process, to give full power back to the CTO and the hiring managers. Let them just deal with the whole thing. And the reason why there isn't any trust between the technicals and the non-technicals is specifically because you don't have technical experience. You're not software developers. You haven't touched code. And that actually matters a lot, because technology is not only about a bunch of acronyms. It's not only about knowing React or a particular database and putting it in a job description, right? And this is now we're flowing into the job description problem. The problem is the job description itself. Most of the time, a job description has more requirements than a grocery list. Just everything under the sun. This is what I would like from a human to be able to do. And technical job descriptions particularly are problematic because we use so many different technologies to do one job. You can't just be a developer of this. You're either a developer or you're not a developer. You're either a senior or a principal developer, and you can solve complicated problems with creativity and ingenuity, or you cannot. And those are the people we want to get. We don't want to get the so-called code monkeys, right? Very offensive term in my field. Very offensive term, but that is true. Because currently, the way job descriptions are mostly written, except for a few, right? Some companies are fantastic at it. Shopify is fantastic at it. Circle CI, fantastic at how they write their job descriptions. But that's two major companies. That's it. They're not hiring millions of people. So the job descriptions tend to include every single technology that might be needed. And why is that? Why do technologists and CTOs write up every single requirement, every single thing, right? Assuming that this person is not a human. It's almost like an AI package that we're buying. We need all of these features in this human. Because they don't trust the hiring process itself. They don't trust the screening process itself. And so they need to give a map to HR. They need to give a map to the technical recruiter to be able to understand what it is that they're looking for. Because in order to actually train HR and technical recruiters in the technical realm would be years of effort. Because there are technologies that are there are technologies in which the knowledge is easily applied to another. I'll give you an example. The difference between MySQL PostgreSQL and SQL Server is almost nothing. It's maybe 0.5%. So whether you have database experience or you don't even need to mention the database. You say this database or any other database, because that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for someone who can think in data terms, who's able to design solutions, not someone who's able to pull from memory and type and not talk. So that's one of the big problems. Now, you've got two kinds of job descriptions out there. You've got the minimalist, like the two great companies that I mentioned, your Circle CIs and your Shopify's and your Spotify's and all of those major tech companies, right? So you've got your very simple job description. We're looking for a senior, or we're looking for a principal. You're going to be doing this and this and this. Here's our tech stack. Excellent. That's it. They attract really, 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 really strong candidates, because the candidates see this immediately when they notice a well-structured job description. What they see is a mature engineering culture. They see maturity within the ranks of the company immediately, and they say, I respect this company, and I'm going to get into this interview process respecting this company. You've got another class of job descriptions, the requirement soup, your Thanksgiving grocery list. Candidates see this and say, and immediately the first reaction, the visceral reaction is, oh, not again. Not another one of those. You can't expect me to know every single thing here. And so who do you end up getting? You end up getting, yes, people that are qualified, but mostly people that are going to take a look at this farce of a job description and say, I don't believe anything that is written here. I need a job. This is a job. That's all I care about. I don't care about the mission of the company. I don't care about what they actually do. I mean, I'm extrapolating. To do a good job, you do have to care to a certain extent. But you're going to get a flood of resumes, because people are going to say this, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you need this and this and this, and and agile also. I'm going to get back to that one in a moment, right? I'm just going to quick apply, click, quick apply. Just send my resume out. Just push it. Blast the internet. Blast it. That's how you've got 1,000 applicants, 1,600 applicants. How do you even read through all of this? Now we move on to the next problem. Well, actually, just a little bit more about job descriptions. I want to make note about aggressively written job descriptions. Using aggressive language. You will lead, you will run, you will be depended on, you will be this, you will be that. Now, sure, sometimes you're looking for a leader, sometimes you're not, sometimes as a senior developer, you will have to do all of these things. The weight of the world will be on your shoulders. Not every human is built to handle that level of stress. Not every human is built to handle that level of pressure. And even if you're built to do so, do you want to? Do you think most people want to handle that level of pressure? So who are you going to get? The people that really need the job, right? Okay, fine. They may not be qualified, but the qualified people, they'll see this and be like, what's going on with this company? Fine, okay, I really don't trust the company, but I'll apply anyways. And I'm going to meet the CTO and already come into the interview process, assume you even get read, and we'll talk about that part in a moment. Your resume even gets considered because it went through an ATS. Again, we'll get that in a moment. The candidate already comes in not respecting the company. Your employer brand has been destroyed for that candidate right away. And what, you don't think that after they get hired, they all talk about the BS job description, about how they were swindled, about how, well, it said all of this, but I'm only touching that. Why did what's going on here? And then people ask why candidates are fleeing every year, every 2 years. Within 1 to 2 years, they're leaving a company. I think the average is 3 years to keep a developer. That's a high cost. That's a high cost. So something to keep in mind is how you write your job description. We'll talk about the solution shortly. The next problem is in the actual resume. Now, this is an uphill battle because in the many years that I've done recruiting, the many years that I've hired developers, I've noticed something really interesting. You know, in my career, I've hired about 300 developers, built many teams, and so on and so forth. So what I've noticed in resumes is they've become search engine optimized. You know, your SEO resume with keywords everywhere, right? Highlighted, a mess to read. Almost the resume is almost not designed for a human to read because it isn't designed for a human to read. A human is not going to be reading this resume. It's going to be annoyed, but it'll give you, you know, it'll hurt you. I mean, I make a point to read every single resume, literally every single resume, because I don't trust an ATS to be able to parse it properly, but that's a different, we'll talk about the red corner approach shortly. So candidates know, they absolutely know that no one will be reading their resume. It'll be uploaded to an ATS. They'll be selected based on years of experience. And that's it. And the ones with the highest years of experience are the ones who are going to get the information. The information. Sorry. Or going to get the interview. That's it. Now let's talk about years of experience for a second. Now, as a technologist of 20 plus years, right? I like to say 20 plus, otherwise it shows my age. Of 20 plus years. Years of experience are generally meaningless. Yeah, okay, so let's, process that one for a second. They're meaningless. It's a BS marker. Stop putting it in your job descriptions. The difference between a developer that has 2 years of experience in a tech and 6.285 years of experience in that tech is all the same. It is. It's all the same. It doesn't take that long to become proficient in a language. I picked up Golang and Python in about 3 months. Yes, I would have said I have 3 months of experience because I don't want to lie. Or I can say I have 20 years of experience in Python. Okay. Because at the end of the day, it means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Stop putting years of experience in your job description. Stop looking for years of experience. What you're really looking for is proficiency in a particular programming language. That's what you're looking for. That's what you really want to look for, right? Proficiency and application of the programming language. What did you actually achieve? So in your job description, the way we write job descriptions, then I'll give you my spiel later, but in your job descriptions, you need to tell them what they'll be building, what category of software. Oh, are you using Golang? Oh, we need proficiency in Golang because we will be building high-speed APIs that require, currently 10,000 requests per second. That means something. Because the person who just picked up Golang may have just worked on it and they may have only 3 months of experience, but they know what they're doing. They've done it. They've worked on it. Are you telling me that relevant experience, that relevant experience doesn't mean something? I would take that person over someone who's been doing it for 7 years. And they don't have the same experience, because for 7 years you could have written something in Golang or whatever other language that is so simple it's irrelevant almost for the job at hand. So years of experience are a false positive. It doesn't mean anything, and I can guarantee you that most people are BSing it in their resume because they have to get through. So they're lying, right, to you, and you're lying to yourself. Isn't that a big problem, right? because an ATS can't read a resume like a technologist. So you won't be able to take a look at, to filter them out. So my recommendation to you is better job descriptions to get less people with more specific line items of work. Because if that person, for example, that has 7 years of experience in Golang sees in a job description that, oh, I'll be building high speed or high throughput endpoints, APIs, whatever it may be, they will not apply because they've never done it and they're not comfortable doing it. Or they may apply after looking into it. But now they know what's going on. They know what the actual job entails. And that's really, really important. Now, going back to the resumes, I know I spent a lot of time on job descriptions because there's a visceral reaction, right? I actually have a YouTube video series dissecting badly built job descriptions. It's actually kind of hilarious, I'm told, but very informative, almost therapeutic for me as an ex-candidate, as a CTO. So this is the problem with resumes in general, right? They're designed to make it look like they're proficient. But you can only now invite so many people to the screening call, right? Because you can't have a phone call with 500 people. You can't, right? So you filter the top 30, the top 30 individuals. And you filter the top 30 individuals, top 40 individuals, right? You request a screening call, your 15-minute quick screening call. Now, the screening call is very seldomly handled by a technologist. Could be the technical recruiter, could be a screener, right? Who's going to ask a couple of questions. Are you human? Yes. Can you breathe oxygen? Yes. And then they'll go down the entire checklist. Do you have 2.5 years of React? Oh, no. Do you have 7.28 years of Agile? Yes. Okay. Oh, great. By the way, please never mention Agile in your job descriptions. If you're currently recruiting and you have Agile in your job description, I'm sorry to say this, but your company looks like a fool. Do not do this ever. It's not a requirement. It's like saying, can you drink soup without drowning? That's basically what you're saying. You're saying, I mean, like, it's almost insulting, to be honest. So the problem now is in the screening call. If they don't match exactly every single requirement in a checklist or based on a score, they're not going to make it through. So that person who has, 6 months of Golang experience based on the resume, but has very relevant experience having worked specifically with a particular technology and particular application that is relevant to your company, will not make it through. You have just lost out a great candidate with less experience rather than just because your ATS told you XYZ ABC, and then just because your screening call filtered it out. The reason why it's so important to have a technologist as part of the screening call, and I can guarantee you no developer will ever want to do this, let alone your CTO or director or VP or whatever, is because that's the time where we can ask a few probing questions about the resume. And so, how can I say? And so the screening call becomes a micro interview, not to filter them out based on a criterion, but to try and get them to pass into the next stage. So this is the problem with this screening call. Now, after the screening call, it might take 2 weeks to go through all of the screenings, right? Make a big list, maybe not that big, maybe 5, maybe 10 candidates for the CTO or for the hiring managers to go through. The problem now is in the shortlisting. You have to limit the amount of candidates you send downstream. You have to, or upstream, whatever, because you don't want to waste their time. And they don't want their time wasted. So they're going to take your shortlist based on your scoring and your assumption of this developer, your assumption, you not being a technical individual. Yes, even if you're a technical recruiter and you know some acronyms, that doesn't make you a technical interviewer. Does not make you technically it doesn't make you a person that is able to, how can I say, that is able to evaluate a candidate. It doesn't. Sorry. Unless you're an ex-software developer, and then maybe. Well, not a maybe, actually. So now the problem is with the short list. You're going to send them 10. Well, the CTO is going to read 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe. Because it's going to take a lot of time. Because once they get into the technical interview phase, now you've got an hour for the first technical interview, maybe another hour with the CTO, and then meetings and so on and so forth. It's going to take like 3 to 5 hours. Just that part per candidate. So more people get shortlisted out, more people get filtered out. Now, we're going to go into the next problem. So all of these filtered out people, the technical assessment. So the problem is with the technical assessment. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you is, if you're not Google, stop behaving like you're Google. Okay? Sorry, I was pouring a tea. The problem with technical assessments is they try to score something that can't be scored or should not be scored. Scoring scores in technical assessments and checklists in technical assessments, again, based on some scoring methodology, right? On some scoring methodology. Prioritize memory retention. It prioritizes that the person that you're talking to has all this information in their brain as if this doesn't exist. As if the internet doesn't exist. And now ChatGPT, my gosh, I don't even need to search anymore. I just type a question and he gives it to me. Yes, even your 20-year veterans that are still coding use ChatGPT all day long. It's a fantastic tool, right? It's a fantastic tool. So technical assessments come in a variety. You've got your take-home exams. Please never do this. Oh my gosh, please never do this. You want to give an exam to someone, give it to an intern or a junior developer of 2 or 3 years. After that, stop with this. Like, it just stop. Okay? Because no senior, no individual that is sufficiently skilled will want to deal with this, right? Will want to deal with this BS. To now take time off for 4 hours, for 8 hours to write some BS function or application that has nothing to do with the actual job itself. What is this? It doesn't mean anything. It's a no stress environment, and you're asking them to code. Please, just never. Make do with questionnaires. No questionnaires. This is the age of Google and ChatGPT. I don't need to know any of this. I don't need to remember. I need to know how to ask the right question. And that's what you should be really evaluating. Their brain, their mind, how their mind is firing. I always failed technical assessments, almost always. The ones that I passed were the ones that focused on creativity, focused on problem solving. And yes, some technical knowledge is required. Yes, I needed to know technology. I needed to know programming. I needed to know technical aspects, yes, in order to do my job. But I always had access to Google, even from the earliest days. I mean, early 2000s, the 2008, 2010, that's when it became really good. Before then, it was books. Pick it up. Hey, this is the SQL statement that I need to look at. Excellent. So we knew. So I always failed these. because I have dyslexia. Yeah, notice how the problem here is the screening called is a capital P. I'm always making small mistakes like that, always. But that's fine, because that doesn't reduce from the value that I can provide. So how many candidates are you filtering out now based on that? On memory. A completely useless metric, by the way, completely and utterly useless metric. So we'll talk about how to solve for technical assessments. And the problem at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day is still with trust. You're not trusted to really evaluate the candidate, and the candidate knows it, and the CTO knows it, and all of them. So how do we solve this? And don't worry, my spiel is coming after how we solve this, right? So involve tech in the entire process. Yes, they need to be involved in the screening. Give them time, buy them a coffee, buy them lunch, and say, hey, I need you to review some of these resumes that I think might be good, right? Give them access to the ATS. Let them. They're looking for someone in their team. They're not going to want to do it, but you need to try at the very least. You need to ask them that we want to be more inclusive in our hiring, not from diversity, inclusive and diversity of mind, so that we don't hire just people that are good at remembering things, or the ones who got their resume professionally written. How many professional resume writers are there on LinkedIn? How many courses are there? People are making millions of dollars a year selling courses on how to beat a technical interview. That's not the point of a technical interview. It's not something to be passed. It's not your BS university test that you're going to forget because you crammed the night before and you're going to forget the day after. This is a job. Like, you need to be able to do this going forward. So involve tech in the entire process. Job descriptions should not look like grocery lists. They really should not. 4 technical requirements maximum. That's it. That's all you need to have. 4. Right? Your job description should have an explanation of the tech stack. This is how we build things. Are you compatible with that? Your job description should have why this job is good for their career. What are they going to do in this career, right? So when I do recruiting, and again, my spiel for later, but when I do technical recruiting for clients and I meet with their engineering team, I ask for stats. Yeah, I ask for like stats of how the system actually operates, how many requests per second they get, and so on and so forth. And I put that in the job description. Our systems get 100,000 requests per second, and it's only going up by 10% every year. This is why this is good for your career, because you're now going into another grade of business, of experience, another grade of employer, of product. Something to keep in mind, right? And also reduce how much about your business, right? We don't need 6 paragraphs about your company and your values and everything. We really don't need that. It just takes away. Your job description should fit on seriously 1 page. That's it. Keep it easy, keep it simple. I know it's hard sometimes, but if you ever want me to review a job description, I will do it for free. Just send it to me, and I'll give you my honest opinion, because we really need to change that as professionals, as an organization of professionals. The next part to fix here, the solution is interviews that are not designed from the rejection point of view. When I look at candidates, when I meet candidates, I want to say, okay, but the first thing that I think of is, how do I position you in the company? Right? And because I recruit for multiple companies at a time, for multiple different positions, I can do that. You can do that too. If there are multiple jobs, you need to look at all of them without them having actually applied, forcing them to go through the entire process again. I'll give you an example. Not a principal or a VP out of Microsoft wanted to hire me. I had a very, very good relationship with the individual. They met me, they wanted to hire me. But they said, I'm sorry, but like, you have to go through the process. Okay, so went through the process. I got filtered out. My resume did not make it through the ATS. Nobody even looked at it. I contacted the guy. He's like, yeah, I never got your resume. So I told him, like, but I did. I sent it. Here's the email. Look, I sent it. Here's my confirmation number. He went in, he looked into it. It turns out nobody ever even looked at the resume. It was automatically rejected. Now, this VP was trying to recruit me directly. And so he had to go all the way to the head of HR to say, hey, like, I want to recruit this person, but you have to go through the process. Okay, fine. Let them go through the process. And then what happened? They had to manually circumvent their rules because I kept on getting rejected because my resume didn't have a specific keyword for that specific job. I didn't end up taking the job, right? Because budgetary concerns back 3 or 4 years ago at Microsoft. But, that's kind of disconcerting, isn't it? Huh? When the process determines who should be part of it, who makes it through, but this automated process, no humans involved to evaluate humans. People say AI is going to change the world. I think the world's already changed with BS software. Maybe AI will actually help by reading a resume and understanding it. The next part here is technical assessments that prioritize problem solving over memory. This is a really, really important aspect. You are hiring problem solvers, not people that can remember, because you cannot remember everything in software development. And a little joke for developers who are listening to this, since I started this call 36 minutes ago, 2 JavaScript frameworks came out. Yeah, 2 new technologies came out, and 6 companies are now implementing them as their stack, as part of their stack. Right? So, what's memory got to do with it? What you need to evaluate is how they solve problems, and every developer is different. Every single developer can do the work in a different way. The question you have to ask yourself in the technical assessment is, do I want that mind as part of my team? That's what you're looking for. Can that mind communicate effectively? Can that mind solve my problems? Can that mind contribute? And how can they contribute? Technical assessments that reflect the real world work. Don't make someone write some algorithm. Not on the whiteboard, at least. Not even in code. Reflect real world work. Give them a situation. Ask them to design a solution verbally with no aid whatsoever. They can Google, they can do whatever. This is how we do technical interviews. I'll get to the spiel again soon enough. It has to reflect the real world work because they'll go through it, right? They'll be happy about it, about passing the interview. They'll get to the job, and then it'll have nothing to do with how they were tested. Literally nothing. And guess what? They lost respect for your company right away. They're less bought into your company. That's the reality. Take this from a candidate. A maximum of 2 interviews, please. A technical interview and then a final one if you want to confirm the individual. An interview not including the screening call, right? 2 main interviews, maximum. No more than that. Even 2 is too much already. If you don't know everything that you need to know about the candidate after the first interview, you have to reevaluate your interview. The second interview should be validation. The CTO wants to ask a couple of questions and then make a decision whether to make the offer or not. It's really, here's my short list of all the ones I want to give an offer to, starting with the top to the bottom. Yes, you can rank them. It's fine. At that point, you've ranked them based on everything. So that's your last interview, should be the offer. That's it. Boom, done. A maximum time delay of 1 month or less. Now, I know it's really, really popular, to do all the screening calls, package all of the candidates, and then eventually filter them out with your team and then send them over. Yeah, well, that could take 2 weeks in its own right. Just 2 weeks between a screening call and an actual interview. Some technical recruiters are fantastic, right? Some technical recruiters are fantastic and they do a really, really good job. However, many don't. Many will wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they finish, they make a list, and then they send that list. Well, guess what? The really talented folks already found another job. They're not waiting for your BS. So my recommendation is, as soon as the screening is done, you like them, you push them through to the next stage immediately on the spot. Don't wait for the perfect candidate, because those don't exist. Don't be no FOMO, fear of missing out on this perfect candidate. They don't exist, right? So pass them through the process. Do not wait. But mostly, really just mostly, remember that there's a person behind that resume. Remember that candidates are people, right? This is not, the technical recruiting space is not the only place where we're forgetting that the resume is actually backed by a human being. Even in the healthcare space, I work a lot with healthcare companies. Even in the healthcare space, there's a whole movement. People before patients. They are people first. They're not just a chart. They are people first. They are not just a resume or a checkbox in an ATS. You must remember that. So, I like this one. Technical recruiting, a new hope. There's a new hope, right? I hope, first of all, I hope the first part of the call was informative, right? I hope you learned something from this. But ChatGPT made this one for me, and it kind of did a good job. I tried to remove the guns, but it really just did not understand, and maybe my prompting is not as good as I thought it would be, but hey, it is what it is. So Red Corner is changing the game, the technical recruiting game. I'm changing everything about it from beginning to end, because I am frustrated. I was frustrated as a candidate. I was frustrated as a CTO. I was frustrated as a technical recruiter. And I decided we need to make a change. And this is how we've been doing it for the last year or so. A CTO who also recruits, why in their, bloody mind would any CTO want to ever recruit? So Red Corner is staffed by fractional CTOs. I'm being the principal and the founder, but Red Corner has fractional CTOs, each one with 20 plus years of experience. That's why they do the recruiting, not primarily. But if you have an AI company, I have an AI focused CTO who can do the interview. If you've got a B2B SaaS company, I've got a B2B SaaS CTO. And that actually matters. It really matters, the context of the companies, because they're coming in with questions and they're coming in with contexts that no other technical recruiter will ever have. And they are all trained on how to do proper interviews. But why is the CTO important? Why is the CTO mindset important in the technical recruiting process from beginning to end, even at writing the job description, even though many CTOs do a bad job at it, but we can fix that. A CTO has built engineering teams. That's why. So what we do at Red Corner is, when we first get a client, I dispatch a fractional CTO to meet the client's engineering teams. We don't talk to HR. We talk to the technologist and the engineering teams. We get an understanding of how their team is composed, because we've built engineering teams, many engineering teams in the past. Because we've done this, we know the kind of profiles that are needed, and we can start working with the team to determine the right profile. Because everybody wants their rockstar developer, but you can't be staffed only by rock stars. Sometimes you need your rank and file 9 to 5ers to just write code. That's it. Sometimes you need your creatives. You can't have everybody creative and everybody innovative. You're never going to get anywhere. So we've built engineering teams, and we know the kind of profiles that you need by talking to the engineering teams themselves. A CTO has mentored talent. I mean, you ask any CTO, that's primarily their job, is to level up talent to a certain point and then to handle the business of technology afterwards. So we can identify talent that is primed to be great. We can see greatness in people. I talk to candidates. I'm like, you know what? You don't have the experience, but I see something in you, and I'm going to push for you to get an interview. And I will get on a call with a hiring manager, and I'll say, this. You have to speak to this guy. He failed the technical assessment completely, gave all the wrong answers, but I like the way the person's brain thinks. A CTO knows the profiles needed. We just did this. A CTO is deeply technical, obviously, right? A CTO can smell BS a mile away. Oh my gosh, the classic LinkedIn header, for basically installing a light bulb on time, installed a lighting system, a complex lighting system on my own, on time and on budget, and and all blah 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 blah. To try and fake their way through, to try and pass through. And I cannot believe that people still do this. So many recruiting advisors and find the job advisors and what tell them to write. I led and I did, I spearheaded, I took over, I did this. First of all, very aggressive language, right? Very aggressive language, right? It already tells me something about your personality and the way you wrote the resume. And that's not fair, because you probably didn't write your resume, if I see that. And so we can smell BS a 1 mile away. We can say, okay, well, this company, you did this and then you did that. This something doesn't work here, right? I don't see the flow in your career. There's a question here. And we also don't really care if you took, 2 years off, whatever. It's irrelevant. Took 20 minutes off for all we care, right? Like Sam Altman. Got fired, got rehired, got fired, got rehired. Who knows what he's doing these days, right? But mostly, a CTO can read between the lines. That's what a CTO can do. They can read between the lines of a resume. They'll see, oh, okay, yeah, I can see something here, because they have experience building this. They have seen hundreds of people go through their teams. They can automatically relate to a candidate that they've hired or an employee that they've worked with before. They can see that personality, right? And they can also read between the lines during the technical assessment. I famously hired and recommended, and they got hired, people that have failed their technical assessments because it's a question. It's not a question. A question. It's not an interrogation the way we do it. We do a technical assessment by asking for a solution to be designed verbally, because as a developer, you need to be able to communicate. And yes, some people are just really shy, so we turn off the screens, we turn off the cameras. And some are so shy, I ask them to even write it down. Just, just type it. Don't tell, just type it. Because some people think this way. Why shouldn't I hire a developer who is shy at talking and will completely fail an interview normally? Because I'm hiring their mind. And the reality is, yes, the developers talk to each other. Half the time it's on Slack. I talked to my managers back when I was a developer and my team on Slack. 3 words. Hey, boom, can you help me? Hey, this. Hey, take a look at that. That's it. There's not that much communication. So you want to watch out for that. So CTOs can read between the lines. They can see that potential. So what does Red Corner do? So first of all, our CTOs sit with your engineering teams. We mentioned that already. They sit with your engineering teams, right? We take a look at the code. We take a look at the architecture. We take a look at the development process, the style. We take a look at everything, right? From a technical point of view. From there, we write a job description that is as relevant as possible to the actual job. We write a job description from not from the perspective of the interviewer to make ourselves look all high and mighty. We write a job description from the perspective of a candidate because I want the candidate to read the job description. You want to do some, you want to have some fun with job descriptions to filter out people that didn't read the JD? Have the quick apply, but completely ignore it. In the job description itself, somewhere, write the instructions on how to apply. Send an email to, send an email to washri@redcorner.io with your resume and everything, somewhere in there, right? Or shove in a Pokemon name because, technologies have these weird names, right? They're funny names. They're basically Pokemon. Throw in a couple of Pokemon names here and there and see if they catch it. That's how I filter out a lot of candidates. Because if you didn't read my JD, you know what? Frankly, I don't, how serious can you be? And because I read the JD properly, I expect you to do so, right? Although I will still go to the quick apply bucket and go through them as well if I don't find any good ones that actually read the JD. We write the technical assessment. We define a technical assessment based on the profile of people you're looking for, based on your problem space. But we won't mention the company. We won't mention the actual problem that you're trying to face, but somewhere around that. So somewhere around that, we do that, right? And it's a solution. It's a solution that they need to design verbally. You have XYZ situation. This is what's happening. This is what you need to build. How do you do it? That's it. Done. But what I do mention, and it's very important to reduce the stress, to take away all the anxiety in the technical assessment. What I do say is make sure, not make sure, but what I tell the candidates is there is no right or wrong answer because you can achieve many different, the same thing 10 different ways. I'll ask 100 developers, I'll get 200 opinions on how to build something. So that's why we write a technical assessment that is custom. That's how we do it. Now, we also screen the candidates. Obviously, we're technical recruiters. We wouldn't be if we didn't screen them. We screen them and we pass them through a micro technical assessment. And then just to make sure they know a couple of things, but our JDs don't have years of experience. So we just, it's much easier that way. We obviously do the technical assessment as well. So we write it and then we execute it on all screened candidates. That makes sense. This is not a recorded interview. This is a live interview with a back and forth with a CTO who knows how to question, who knows how to design systems and solutions. So we pass them through a full technical assessment and we record it, right? Because you're going to want to hear it because we do this for you. So, and honestly, I wish I could get the permission of candidates to record it and publish it because it's actually quite informative. It's very entertaining because it's almost like two techs having coffee, right? And talking about a particular solution. And throughout the technical assessment, I try to reduce the anxiety. I try to ask some probing questions. And my favorite part is I will rip their solution to shreds. I will challenge them and throw wrenches in their system and see how they adjust. Do they get stressed? They're like, oh yeah, no, this is how we would do it in this event and so on and so forth. And does it come fast? Are they snappy? Are they sharp? Depending on the profile I need. I don't always need snappy and sharp people. Sometimes I just need experts who take their time to think, and that's it. And sometimes I need boom, 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 the tech lead, the sharpness, they come up with a solution really quickly. And lastly, we only submit the candidates that we know can do a good job from a technical point of view. The only thing that you need to do now is choose which candidates you want to talk to. The only time you spend as a client, as a hiring manager, is your 1 or 2 hours of interviews that you take on after you have seen the technical interview and you said, I want to meet this person. You save so much time. I estimated 3 to 5 hours. I was talking to an HR person. They said it's more like 5 to 8 hours of accounting for opportunity cost per candidate that a company is involved with from beginning to end. That's a lot of time. CTOs are very expensive. That's a lot of time. But you only spend about an hour to 2 hours because I already did the technical assessment for you, right? So you're listening to it and you're listening to it and you're taking notes, and then you're saying, you know what? I want to talk to this individual. I already know everything about this individual. Now I just want to get a sense for who they are. Send an email out to us. Boom. We schedule the interview. Done. Right? 98% of the candidates we submit go for a second interview. That's a serious batting average because we'll only send you 3 or 5 tops. We're not going to send you more than that. It will be insane. Right? So we spend a lot of time with our candidates. Trust me, we earn our fee. It's important to know that, yes, you get the recorded technical interview. And the reason why is because you're going to want to go back and listen to it again. I have one client who went running and who cooked while listening to the technical interview. Said saved them a ton of time, right? Saved them a ton of time. It was able to just sit there with a coffee, listen to the technical interview, 2 people chatting. It's basically like a podcast. He listened to it in the car, and then by the time he got to the office, boom, he went ahead and did his job. That's a lot of time saved that they don't need to now sift through. It's handpicked individuals from a CTO who has similar experience to the hiring manager. There's value. So how do we charge? Because it's not for free. We only work on a flat fee model. Only work on a flat fee model. Commission, I can't. I'm the one making this money, and I can't validate, and I can attach value to such a high commission, especially with the heightened developer salaries, $200,000, $250,000. That's in the US, right? In Canada, it's a little bit lower, but I mostly deal in the US anyways. To pay $40,000 and $50,000 for for a candidate, how much work did the technical recruiter do? Did they clone this individual? Where is the value? The value is not there. So we charge a flat fee, a single flat fee per candidate. It's cheaper. It's 50% cheaper than most, especially given the current salaries. And not because I didn't reduce the cost because I want to get more business. I reduced the cost because it is relative to the value that we provide. It makes sense to have that number. We charge $20,000 per candidate hired, or if you need to hire 3 candidates or 4 candidates for that same team, we do it as a group rate. We save you a ton of time, obviously, and you regain your sanity. Thank you, everyone. I'll be reaching out to everyone individually, and this will be available recorded on the Red Corner LinkedIn page, and as well as on YouTube soon enough. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.